Welcome to another episode of the Lightspeed Investing Podcast. I've got Chad Gracey here, who is the co-founder and brains of Sportsbook Economy, where he is here to share his unique perspectives on getting involved with the sports world. How are you doing, my friend? It's
Really
nice to
good. How,
be
how
with
are
you.
you? Thank you so much for
I,
having me. Excited to be
I,
here.
I'm great, man. Just had a fantastic Thanksgiving coming out of this weekend, and super excited to get with you because this is a really interesting topic. As a matter of fact, for me, growing up, since I've been Jayhawk raced in Kansas, I always told my friends, man, if there's a way that I can get like a 1% ownership of all season ticket sales, let me know how I can do that. Now, this is not something that it's quite the same, but you are able to leverage certain industry knowledge and strategies to maximize profits from the sports world, which is why I'm so excited to introduce you to our audience. So, why don't you let people know, how did you get started with this? I mean, it's not like they offer this kind of education from a K to 12 level, right? Similar to why we want to democratize access to the fund space, right, for Lightspeed investing. So how did you get started? Why did you think that this makes sense? And ultimately, why did you decide to stay committed to it?
Yeah, great question. So, right out of high school at 18 years old, there was no sports books in legal in the U.S. Right? It was all
Okay.
offshore stuff. So, right when I was 18 years old, you could sign up for online casinos, right?
Okay.
And this is where you could, play poker, blackjack, get exposed to betting at a young age, I guess. But
Okay.
when these sports books offered signups, and even if you didn't take a bonus when you signed up and you may have lost your money in an account, they offer what they call is bonuses. So if you put
Mm-hmm.
$500 into a sports book, they're going to give you an additional $500 cash on top of that to play with their money. So you ever been to a casino on your birthday? You get a $10 promotion or something like that. It's kind of very
Mm-hmm.
similar, but
Okay.
with sports books not having the same prices. So for example, Amazon stock maybe $100, $190 a month. You could go to any different exchange and buy it. But with sports betting, I could put $100 in the Jayhawks last night at a plus 130 odd, which means I'd win $130 to win. Or I could put on another sports book that has a different price of like 150, right? So there's
Mm-hmm.
no market control of that. So what I did is I realized that you could load up multiple sports books, right? And for example, I used a scenario last night where I bet UConn and the Jayhawks together in the basketball game, where I can basically place a wager in one sports book on UConn and place a wager on the Jayhawks in another, where I don't really care who wins or loses because one bet's going to win, one bet's going to lose. I'm hedging my bet, right? So these sports books, they offer sign up bonuses for any type of recreational player that wants to come and play in their casino, right? Their sports book to bet more. And they also put a stipulation on it. So if they don't just give you $500, say, hey, Philip, you can see you later, you can keep that money, right? There's always a catch. A lot of these sports books will put rollover requirements. So if they give you $500 of cash, if you deposit 500 and they give you 500, you have a total of 1,000. They want you to basically wager 10 times that amount before you can cash out. So you have to wager $10,000 in action before you can actually cash that out, right? And as a recreational bettor, it's hard to bet on sports and win regardless. But I thought to myself, what if I just hedge my bets? What if I always took one team in one book to win and another team in another book and just money cycled back and forth? I could guarantee myself a way to basically lose a little bit of money to the house, like a tax I'm paying, but
Yeah.
also to get through that playthrough requirement. And
Mm-hmm.
naturally, when you do that, you lose out of certain sports books and like, hey, Chad, sorry you lost your money. Here's another reload bonus, right? So I developed a strategy that was making me back in, 2000, 2004, 2005, like 3 to 5 grand a month paying for college doing that just right off the gate. Like, wow, this is real. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's what got me started doing this. And then basically had the opportunity to teach a handful of people this method. And with
Yeah.
the new data tools out there and sports books becoming legalized in America, they basically developed calculators that will scrape data from sports books and basically show you what bets to make. So it saves a lot of time and energy. So
Right.
that's basically how I took this from a recreational standpoint to basically really teaching people how to make money, because you literally look at a screen kind of like day trading, but it's very
Mm-hmm.
simple. You just would place a
Right.
wager in one book and another and kind of roll with it. So that's how I got started, just doing some simple triangle and error. I'm like, wow, I can hedge my bet in a way to take advantage of the promos. And I hate to use the word guarantee, but pretty much always make money from doing this. So
And that's why it's so interesting because I know there's some negative connotations around the word sports betting, but this is really not sports betting at all. This is what you like to call sports arbitrage because what you're doing, right? You're arbitraging different books and you're placing your quote unquote bet on not the outcome, but on the probability itself, right? It's very similar to a stock options trade, except you're not trading the markets. You're kind of like trading, the sports books according to specific games. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
No, that's spot on. You're exactly right. And
Yeah.
if you're a financial person, never been on sports
Hmm.
before, I could change the lingo and make it financial and people pick up quickly.
Right.
You're just, exactly that. The different prices, just paying a different vig to the house to keep a little more from you. But you're
Yeah.
exactly right. That's the unique thing about this. Very similar to that style.
So, what have you seen? Obviously, the sports books domestically have opened up, right? So you don't
Mhm.
have to just deal with things from an offshore standpoint. But in this 20-year journey that you've been on, what does the evolution look like from way back when you started when you were 18 to the landscape now, and what do you have to inform the audience accordingly to this evolution?
Yeah. Yeah. So awesome question for sure. The evolution evolved where a lot of these tools that come out, and you use the great word called arbitrage bet, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of times with these sports books, they not only do they have a stipulation to get their free money, they also don't like winners, right? So there's kind of an art and the science to this. And the science is basically trust the data.
Mm.
There's tools out there to place wagers, but we don't want to actually bet player props or alternate lines. We want to bet main markets like the spread, or if the Packers are minus 3.5 and the Lions are plus 3.5, we want to stick to those key so we look like
Hmm.
a recreational. So not a lot has changed from that standpoint, but it's quite interesting because a lot of people and a lot of companies that are promoting data to use their tools, a lot of people get limited, right? Because that's why I say, hey, what's the difference between a recreational bettor and a professional bettor? Professional likes to bet player props and pick off the line. For us, we want to look recreational and casual, so we just win here and there and kind of just bet main market bets and look, hey, dang it, I lost all my money. Well, hey, Philip, here's another 100% match way. Do you go in there and try to lose again? They love your kind of customer, right? So, the dynamics there hasn't changed too much, but one thing notice is that domestic books do limit a lot faster. They offer
Hmm.
really nice sign up bonuses. There are no rollovers. So anybody listening that's in a state that has a BetMGM Grand or DraftKings, you
Hmm.
can literally make $1,000 to $2,000 and a few wagers because there is no rollovers. You may see BetMGM Grand advertise a risk free bet up to 1,500, and that's exactly what we're doing. Is we're taking advantage of that bet, so we're guaranteed to make money regardless of the outcome.
And what would you say is the minimum that people need to get started with?
Yeah, I would
To
say the minimum. Yeah, that's a great question. The minimum to get started with would be $1,000 probably. And just to paint a roadmap, if you never sign up for a sports book and you are in a state that is legalized, that $1,000 could turn into about $200 to $2,500 in less than a week of actually
Mhm.
betting. And in terms of time to make that money, it only takes a matter of minutes to place a wager. It's just more like the game's got to play out. But because
Yeah.
there's so many bonuses out there, you can basically double your money pretty fast. And then if you had a higher bankroll, you're going to make more money faster as well because you can take more bonuses. But it's
Right.
definitely, you know, making a few $1,000s a month is very realistic. We don't like to promote numbers, but the average client makes between $3,000 and $10,000 a month, just depending on how much time they bet and depending on what form of coaching they choose.
And let's say they don't get any form of coaching; they decide to do it on their own, try to figure it out. What is that outlook for in that journey versus an outlook with specific guidance, specific strategies laid out in front of them?
Yeah, great question. So, you know, there's already betters out there. Maybe people use a product like OddsJam or Pick the Odds out there, right? That does
Okay.
arbitrage betting. But I kind of went back to the art and the science of it. The
Yeah.
promotions that we bet is very laid back. These lines don't change much. And the difference if you do it on your own is that there's certain sports books that we know would pay us out $10,000 in 5 minutes, and there's certain sports books that we probably don't want to withdraw more than $2,500 from them. Not that they won't pay us out, just because
Hmm.
of their personalities and their smaller books, but they offer great promos. So you're getting the 20 years of knowledge and every personality, or all the personalities of different sports books that basically we built. We built a system to say, hey, you want to take a smaller bonus here and do XYZ based on book specific. So could you make money doing this on your own? Yeah, you can go through it and roll through that. But the strategy is really built out to say, hey, we want to take lower bonuses here, try to move money out of this account and make it. So you're getting 20 years of education. And also, I personally trained over 1,000 people. So I get a lot of good feedback from different accounts and different players.
Mm.
So that just helped grow me further because, hearing different feedback can really change your style of betting, which helps better the community. So you're getting a
Mm.
lot of information to hit the ground running and basically to think differently, right? There's one way to follow data, and there's another
Yeah.
way to change up your strategy, which is what we teach in Sportsbook Economy.
Well, without giving too much away, do you mind sharing like some of those strategies from a high level overview so that people listening can really get the grasp of what differentiates you from everyone else?
Yeah, great question. So really unique fact here is I never met anybody that does this outside of not talking to me. So like out of all the people I taught
Mm.
and another company that actually launched, I trained that person. I never met anybody that actually has done this full scale. So what's unique about that is, and kind of like the different approaches, like I said, if you're a bettor, you could figure out how to place low hold bets and get the bonuses. But the
Okay.
difference between like what Sportsbook Economy or what I'm saying that have we have edge is that we know all the personalities of these sports books, right? And the biggest key is knowing what bonuses you may want to put $3,000 in to get 3,000 cash versus
Hmm.
what bonuses you may want to put $500 in, right? And the
Mm.
biggest thing too is we have certain sports books we want to try to avoid withdrawing from. So think
Oh, okay.
about when you're betting your sports, we can't control what games win or lose. Some people may bet the underdog. Some people may bet another favorite to win or lose. But the point is,
Hmm.
it's all about playing chess. Like, hey, if I have $300 in a website that has a $20,000 playthrough requirement less, so for example, you have to wager 20 grand before you cash out. I
Hmm.
may bet that $300 against another site and take a new bonus at it. So what's going to happen is if I lose out of that one book, I'd have another bonus waiting for me. Or if
Right.
I win in there, the new book that I just put money in is going to lose. So we're basically playing chess and already know how much we're going to make or lose by our outcomes.
Right.
There's times to times you got to grind out rollovers, but again, we change the strategy where it's like, hey, more sports books you have, the better. So we're going to take more bonuses with the lower rollover and try to shift the balances. So that's the biggest key. Is we're
Mm.
always going to be betting. It's just how fast can we get our cash liquid to pull money out and make more money off it? Like we don't want to keep dipping into our own bankroll. We started with 4 grand. Let's keep rolling it, right? And that's kind of the ins and outs. So we're moving your money to build that bankroll up further. So
Yeah, and what I'm hearing is there is no emotional attachment to certain teams. Like as much as I love my Kansas Jayhawks and Kansas City Chiefs, like I'm not really concerned about the well-being of the outcome here. This is just pure, right, objective, unemotional analysis, and the idea is to make money. Is that correct?
100%. And a great example is last night I put emotion into it. I wanted the Jayhawks to win because they're underdogs, and I got a really good price on it. But I didn't care because I hedged my bet with UConn, so money just went into a different sports book. But
Hmm.
that's a great analogy to say you can have fun and put emotion
Yes.
into it. And again, we're betting, but we're not gambling, right? Our money's just going into different accounts. That's all that's happening. So
Yeah, no, that's a great point that I wanted to make sure to provide clarity there, and I think
mhm.
that's so important to address because that's similar to people who become successful in business. One of the first things they say is make sure you don't marry your business, right? Like if you need to make adjustments, pivot. Don't just keep dumping in the whole farm and the whole house to keep the business afloat because obviously some changes have to be made. So for you having coached so many different people, um, I'm really curious what exactly is the time frame that you see someone start to actually seeing some dividends, and then from there they can grow and scale to like the next couple of tiers. Is this a unlimited scalability game? Is there a cap on it depending on how much liquidity you have? I'm kind of curious, how far does the game go?
Yeah, great question. I would say there's a cap to the point of a learning curve. Now, obviously, if you had $50,000 and you invested in all these sports books, we're not going to make you 50 grand. It just becomes too hard, right?
Okay.
There's certain sports books we don't want to bet more than $500 in, just because they're smaller sports books, right? But to answer your question, we're at the gate. We offer a 2x guarantee inside our your one-on-one coaching program, where if you started with $7,500, we're going to make you $15,000 in 45 days, right? Just because we know the roadmap for it.
Mm.
But to answer your question, yeah, you can expect to make between 3 and 10 grand a month. It just depends how many bonuses. But on average per person, like $50,000 to $70,000, dedicating 45 minutes a day is just an average number. Again, there's learning curves and stuff.
Hmm.
But what's cool about this, for the cost of any of our program, you're going to pay back that cost very fast. And it's more about the education piece. Like, I can make you the money pretty easy with the sign up bonuses and be good, but I'm teaching you
Yeah.
how to do this long term. And
Right.
for anybody listening, have an extra 2 to 4 grand a month is pretty good for anybody. You could pay a house, mortgage, whatever. But that's the cool thing about this. And bonuses never really run out because there's so many books. That's the cool thing. As you lose in certain sports books, you may become net negative. So if you're down 4 or 5 thousand, you have no problem now withdrawing from that sports book because you're down, right? So you change the
Mm.
strategy up, and that's where the one-on-one that we offer, and basically all the different people I worked with, and had the ability to adjust the strategy, right? Just to try different things. That's where Sportsbook Economy really shined, and I co-founded it. In fact, I trained Sam, who is the other co-founder of this, and he
Uh-huh.
wanted to partner with me because just because there's so many moving pieces to
I
teaching
see.
this, and
Yeah.
we put together an interactive videos and roadmaps to make it where anybody that can sign up for a sports book can make money.
That's great. And what would you say is the average time frame committed for someone to make 2 to 4 grand a month?
Yeah, to make 2 to 4 grand a month, it just depends how good you are at navigating through sports books. There's a learning curve, new website you got to go through. Imagine using Go Eye Level or something, right? There's a learning
Oh
curve.
yeah,
But,
yeah, definitely.
I would say less than an hour a day. How much time would it take me to fly through $4,000 in bets? Me, probably 20 to 25 minutes. But what's cool about this is, if you have 10 minutes in the morning to place some wagers, do it then. As long as there's sports to bet on, like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern or 10 p.m. Eastern, you can make money, right? So, less than an hour a day, probably 45 minutes, right? Just once you pick it up, it just becomes like, okay, if I have a family vacation to pay for, I don't have to bet every day. I just got to put $5,000
Right.
in sports books, and then
Okay.
know my rollover is. So, I would say people that make that 10 grand a month are probably betting a couple hours a day, but people
Mm.
that make average just to learn it, yeah, they're only betting for 45 minutes to an hour. But once they actually get a taste of it and realize what's going on, they tend to throw more time at it, right? So it's hard to
Yeah,
say, because the more time you spend, the more money potentially you could make by betting more. So
for sure, for sure. And what about the withdrawal capability and access? Like when you say, because I know from a high level overview, some of these monies you have to keep in the books, right? Like for rollover purposes and whatnot. So in terms of money actually hitting the banks, money that you can pocket, how does that look like, right? What time frames are we talking about?
yeah, great question. So in terms of when you hit the rollover, on average, like when you verify your documents, you're paid out in 24 hours, right? But you're exactly right. There's certain books that we hit a rollover, we don't want to pull our money out of. So
Yeah.
it becomes a strategy standpoint. But the sheer point of when you withdraw, if I withdraw from DraftKings, I'm paid out in 5 minutes to my PayPal, right? So they pay out very quickly. Sometimes you may have to wait 3 to 5 days, but typically, as soon as you submit the payout and your stuff is clear, you're
Right.
paid in the next day, which is pretty fast, right? So there are some books that may take 3 to 5, but it's not like you're waiting weeks. It's all done
Okay,
through
that's good.
crypto.
That's
Crypto is the
good.
best way, and so you're not
I
getting a
see.
check or have to
Yeah.
worry about it. So it's really seamless that
Right.
way.
Right.
Yep.
Now, but be up to the point of withdrawal though, because you have to keep certain rollovers in certain books. So when you say, you can make 2 to 4 grand or 3 to 5 or up to 10 grand, not all 10 is pocketable though, right? Like that's what I'm getting at. So like, what can tell the audience so that they can understand, in terms of the ratio? Oh, maybe, if I'm making 2 to 4 grand, maybe half of it has to be kept in the book. So if I made 4 grand, really 2 grand is in the books, and then 2 grand hits the bank, right? Something like that.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, it really depends. So, like with the scenario I gave you, if I had $5,000, I'm going to load up the
Hmm.
book, so my rollover is only going to be $20,000 at the highest. So if I bet $1,000 a day in 20 days, I'm going to hit a rollover in some book. So theoretically, I could access my cash right away, right? Um, but you make a great point. Like if you keep taking bonuses, let's say you made 5 grand, you keep taking bonuses. Sure, you can't pull that money out, but it's more like just manage your bank account in a way to say, okay, I want to pull $3,000 out here. What book do I want to do and hit the rollover, right? So the cool thing is you can physically touch that money if you keep the rollover amount down. And again, remember, if you have a rollover and you lose all your money out, you don't have a rollover again. It just went to another book. So if that money
Hmm.
went from a book with a rollover to like a DraftKings, you could pull it out instantly. But I like to say, hey, if you keep the rollovers under 30,000 and you bet $1,000 a day in that book, in 30 days you could touch your money if you had to roll it over, right? And there's some strategy to it, but yeah, definitely more than half of that. So if you made 4 grand, you could access all 4,000, but it just
Hmm.
depends on your individual situation. A lot of guys only start with two and never touch their money and get up to like $40,000 injected in the books. They want to see how fast they can scale it. It just depends on your personal roadmap, and we teach that in an in-depth level as well. Like, hey, if you want to make a couple grand, just pull the money out. We just got to know that if you have a rollover, you can't touch the money. So
That's awesome, man. So for the people listening, who is this for and who is it not for? Right? Obviously, you said you've coached about
mhm.
over 1,000 people now at this point. What types of people and personalities really make this work?
Yeah, honestly, it's funny you say that because the people I coached prior to launching Sportsbook Economy were people that's never bet before in their life. And they're
Okay.
probably my best customer because they only have one way to
Mm,
learn and they only
mm,
follow one set of instructions, right? With
right.
that being said, anybody that can sign up for a sports book, it's easy. Anybody that can use a computer and navigate, like know how to, look at lines, like, hey, lines minus 110, you have to go find that in the sports book. It's for anyone. I've trained people
Hmm.
that, um, you know, truck drivers. I've trained waitresses and waiters. I've trained financial people. Like I said, if you can't sign up for a sports book or to make this, you can't sign up to get a
Mm,
credit card. If you're not good at computers, it's probably not for you. But in today's age, it's hard to say who it's not good for, right? So as
I
long
see.
as you can, you know, learn through videos and tutorials, and then, like I said, the school community, I've taught people I've never met before. So the way I teach is very, it's not like saying odds or vig. I'm using very good words that anybody can understand. So
Sure.
it's for anybody that wants to make a side hustle with an hour of their time. I would say it that way.
I love it, man. I love it. And obviously, you've been very gracious with your time here. I appreciate you
Mhm.
coming on and sharing this with the audience. For them, if they want to learn more and get in touch with you, what is the best way to do so?
Yeah, the best way to do so is to join our free masterclass. So
Okay.
if you go to school.com, that's skol.com, and you type in Sportsbook Economy, you'll see the masterclass. You can hit join. I'll send you an automated welcome message. But if anybody listens to this podcast, just reply back to me, say, hey, Chad, I'd like to talk to you. That message comes directly to me, right? So you'll get an automated one, but love to book a call with anybody and definitely show them more detailed with what we do. But I'm very passionate about this. I think that it's
Hmm.
an easy way to make money, and especially from an investment standpoint, if you don't know anything about investing, you're doing just that. You're day trading sports bets versus day trading stocks, and so you're building your bankroll for bigger moves. Like one day, I'm going to be going to you to learn how to trade stocks too, because I think that's great. And it's the same analogy. Like we're just
Right.
basically just as you said it. So
Right.
yeah.
No, absolutely. The only thing is we do not teach stocks. We
Okay,
teach
sorry.
futures and commodities because that's how we
Sorry.
get our high returns through that volatility. But no, I love it. Really appreciate for being on and sharing this important information. So again, for those of you listening, go to school, look up Sportsbook Economy, join Chad's free masterclass so that you can get an in-depth understanding of exactly what we're talking about. And my friend, this has been amazing. I'm excited to bring you back on because I know next time we're going to cover some of these technical nuances
Mhm.
a bit more. Until then, I hope you have a great day. It's getting cold. It's wintertime, so stay warm. And I'll talk to you again in
You
about a
too.
month
Thank
or
you so
so.
much. I really appreciate having me on here. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much, man. Take care now.
Thanks.